Hello YouTube and newsletter subscribers, this is Terrell from Terrell3.com. Today is January 15th, 2015. This is the Black Star Update Report connected to Terrell's 2015 newsletter volume number 3. Here we go. First of all, let me mention that there was a mistake made last week. If you look, this is the little segment that I cut off. You see this 196 value? I commented that this is an anomaly. This is not supposed to be here. Well, when we look over here, we see why. The data that I was sent, I mean, it's my fault. I'm not blaming anybody, but the data that I was sent actually grabbed from last year, from 2013 to 2014. So it is a December to January transition, but it's the wrong year. So that 196, we're not seeing these low values at outside orbit position. I mean, so far away from outside orbit position. Last week, the low value was 176 for the following week. You can see it up here. This 196 here went down to 176, but these two 100 values, they only appeared outside orbit position. You see them right here. The outside orbit position, whenever the Earth makes the right triangle to the black star, you see these two values below 200? That's what you were supposed to see. They're inverted. This inversion represents the symmetry in my chart that I've been looking for. So I looked at it last week and I go, wait a minute, there's something this is going to be an anomaly, and it turned out to be. So this week I got the correct values, and what it shows is for last week I did see the bounce that I predicted for this week. See, I saw this big drop from 250 to 250 set to 227. I look at the date and I go, holy cow, I'm going to reach outside orbit position the first week in February. This value is much too low. In other words, I'm going to see a bounce before I start going down again till I finally reach a value that's going to be in the 180s. And there's going to be two of these 100 below 100, below 200 values together. Right? Now these year by year, this low value at outside orbit position, you see it was 176 in 2011 orbit cycle, the value was 146. So every year these values get a little higher. We're going up 20 higher, right? So maybe it's going to be around 180. It's going to be in the 180s, I think, and it's going to be the week of February the 1st, I think. But we had to have this bounce, but then we see what I expected. And Hijacker, well, by the way, I'm just mentioning in passing, I heard that Hijacker heard from the people at Revolution Radio that he's quit again. And I heard that Earthplay is going to be hosting the Thursday show for Liberation Nation, which I usually do. I didn't get an email from Deacon. I just got one from Vaubert, but they couldn't get a hold of me because my Skype was messed up. It's connected to the Hotmail account that was blocked. So I couldn't even turn the thing on. Now, just today, that I realized, what if I uninstall the program? It's going to break the connection with Hotmail when I reinstall. And sure enough, it works. So now my Skype's working, so those of you that were using my old Skype name and stuff, you can now contact me and write me messages on my old Skype. So anyway, what I'm seeing across the board is, see how all these arrows are pointing down? We went from 2 of the 6 magnitude quakes down to 1, went from 29, and went from 30 to 29 to 26. That's because we're in the lull period. Now we're seeing, although we do have a bounce here, that's what we should expect to see. We always see the bounce, especially whenever the Earth cooling. Whenever we're cooling down, then yes, it's going to go down, down, down. But then there's a week there where things bounce up and then they go down, 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 down again. Usually it's only one bounce, and that happens. So now we're at 239. I'm expecting to go to 180. We're still in the first week of January for these readings, you see, and I've got 3 more weeks of the lull, and I'm going down into the 180s. So we should see this next week should be around 220, maybe even down to the 210s. If we get down to the 210s, we'll see another bounce. If it's gradual, then we'll see a steady decline down to our about 180, 185, something like that at outside orbit position. Then we're going to see, like we saw last year, to see the giant jump, 536. That's what we should expect to see, but move this 21 days later. Where do we get the 21 days from? I explain in this update. The key for determining this outside orbit position, we watched these 2.5 to 4 magnitude earthquakes. We watched, and remember this is predicted far ahead of time. what we do is we go to our backside alignment date. You see this week right here? Last year that was 10/25. Now we're going to 11/15, and that's 21 days. In the 2011 orbit cycle, that would have been just 11 days. We've got a 21 days because the black star is moving farther left with greater velocity in the orbit diagram, almost twice as fast as it was in 2011, telling me the black star is getting nearer and nearer to perihelion. That's what it's telling me. Okay, so now we add 21 days to our first week of January right here. So in between these two dates is where outside orbit position was, January 5th to January the 11th. So this time it's going to be between January about the 26th, 27th, around February the 3rd, because we have to add a day or two because of the 3 months that went by. So we have increased velocity, you have to add the 3 days or something like that. So right around the first, about the time when we are coming between the Sun and Jupiter. This is where we are in the solar system. You see Libra. Black star, I believe, is in about this location right here. It's somewhere right in here. And if you notice, we're seeing activity off the western limb of the Sun as the Earth comes around in orbit. Well, holy cow. Let's get back on the right date here. I must have had this open. Let's go back to the actual time. See, the Earth is actually on this side. Okay, so we're getting ready to make the right angle with the black star. Looking down, black star is about in this area. So we're getting ready to make the right angle to the black star, and it's about the time that we're going to pass between, see, Mercury passes through there too, but not quite. See the moon? Look at the moon and Jupiter. I mean, if the Earth was moved ahead 1 more degree, then we would have the moon is pulling with Jupiter with the Sun. It's just not quite perfect, but it's pretty darn close, right? So we're going to see 6 magnitude earthquakes on the uptick for this period coming up, February the 4th, something like that. At the same time that usually when the Earth is about here, I'm seeing a 7 and then another 7 right in this area. Not because of Jupiter, obviously, but because we're making the right triangle with the black star. The caterpillar crawl around the planet decreases to its minimum at this area. When it bounces and kicks off again, that's why we had that high 500 value, because the black star Earth magnetic portal connection is hovering at the same length through this period now. 2011 and 2012, our race to outside orbit position meant that we were outpacing black star inbound velocity. That means that the earthquake values are going down to the low with the new volcanic eruptions. Now the new volcanic eruptions, that value for this week, by the way, is 5. Last week, what was it, 6 or 7? The week before that, 6 and 7. We're seeing the high values even during the low period, because our move to outside orbit position is no longer outpacing black star inbound velocity. That's what it's boiling down to. So after we come around in orbit and start moving this way, we'll be moving towards the black star that's here. That means the magnetic portal connection between the black star and the Earth will be shortening by 50 to 60,000 miles per hour. That's why you see the big jump, and that's why you see the big uptick. When we get around to this area, look at May the 20th. See, look at Saturn. Black star, Saturn, Earth. Who is this? Mars on the backside. Planetary alignment, not only with the Sun, planetary alignments, and they're not perfect, but they're pretty darn close. But with the black star in this neighborhood, and we have Jupiter at the 90-degree angle in Leo. So, well, close to the 90-degree angle. Jupiter is coming around. Jupiter's been a poor witness in this case because it's been on the backside of the solar system relative to the black star. Now it's starting to come around, starting to become a player. That means the magnetic portal connection between Jupiter and the black star is wanting to shorten too. Problem is, for that scenario, is that the black star with increasing velocity towards the Sun is going to outpace Jupiter's move because it's slower. It moves much slower than Earth does around the Sun. So that's kind of where we are in the solar system. We're actually back around here in this area, or just about in this area right here, and nearing outside orbit position, the right triangle with the black star. That's where we're at right now. If we want to look at the earthquake 3D, and you want to pay attention I'm highlighting a couple of stories here. Well, I can do that in a second. Okay, you're seeing the 2 primary quake swarm areas right here in the United States, and attention is shifting away from the Asian side of the equation. Seeing lots of high magnitude earthquakes on this area. This has been highly active on previous orbit cycles. Solomon Island quake event from February 2013 changed the dynamic over here. We had the giant quake swarm off coast of Kamchatka right here. Now that's diminished. The pressures now are building up in this area. You see this dead zone here, but that dead zone, these lines are becoming closer and closer together with these events as the quake swarms are becoming higher and higher, you see. But we should expect these are going to be lower now, and they are. They're lower now than they were, but they're going to get taller, like this stack over here from the fracking that's going on. That's not just from fracking. Let's get that part right. This is not just from fracking. It's because the American Craton here. See how quiet it is over here? This is gigantic stationary. Bam! This is big landmass, singular landmass right through here. That's how it's been characterized. In reality, the line that goes through New Madrid here, this represents the edges of Pangaea. This is the shorelines of the old Pangean singular continental mass that traveled all the way around the planet and then pushed against each other. They are pushed against each other very tightly, like two fists right now. Whenever this area does kick off, and the earthquakes are increasing in the United States right now. New Madrid goes, then you have another fault system over on this side of the Appalachian Mountain Ridge. The United States is just broken into two parts. Happens later in the timeline. It's not even visible what's going to happen, but if you look at Edgar Cayce's map of the future, my safe zone map, and the Navy map of the future, you'll see what I'm talking about. There's a giant inland gulf here. New Madrid pops open, and there's a whole bunch of shaking and quaking going on in the future. So that's where we are with this update. And running a little bit low on time. This is Binary Research Center. William sent me this. Just wrote this morning to Walter. Here's the information that I sent him, and I copied and pasted some of the information. If you guys are following the research, what I sent from Volume 1 and Volume 2 to Andy Lloyd. Real smart guy. And rather than write the same 10 points again, then I sent them, I copied and pasted them over here for Walter. Gave him this introduction, and then began I gave him the links to the previous emails with my comments and Andy's comments back and forth. And then I want this guy to see if he can think outside the box, if he can relate the Earth changes, the changes in the solar system, shrinking heliosphere, weakening magnetosphere, migrating magnetic North Pole, and the frequency, the patterns that are taking place in there. If he can also see it like I can see it, and like hopefully many of you can see it, then maybe I can begin getting somewhere with somebody that knows what, is watching this, and they can recognize the warning signs. The Solar System Scope, Bonnie sent in most of the articles for this newsletter. Remember, I'm transitioning from Hotmail over. This is like the smallest newsletter that I've had in a long time. Many of the articles are locked inside of the Hotmail email account that I cannot access. It's really frustrating. I'm done with Hotmail, and although it's partially my fault, I understand. I should have kept up with the security, keeping that updated, but I had the same account for 11 years and never saw this problem. I updated my newsletter subscribers. I sent out a couple of hundred, maybe a little more than that, notification emails last year, January 11th and 12th. Never saw anything like this. So I figured I could do the same thing again. Same activity I've done for this thing for years now. And Hotmail locks my account, and they're asking me questions that I answered more than a decade ago. Who's my favorite historical figure? Was it the Apostle Paul or was it Abraham Lincoln? They're both my favorite. Which did I write down? I don't remember. Wish I could. But anyway. I also want to make a note that Earthplay is why I'm not quite sure, but Earthplay is going to be hosting Deacon John's show today, and I know that he deleted me from his contact list. I don't know if I'm going to be able to give an update report today. But Vauber just gave me the notice, and they couldn't contact me through my old Skype because it was connected to Hotmail. Now I'm resolving these issues gradually. It's just amazing how much we depend on this technology, and how when we connect things that break, how everything gets broken. So please be patient with me through this period. I am pulling my hair out and starting to get under the weather. You notice I'm not quite talking properly, but I'm kind of stopped up.